The best way to practice is to find a way to improve and then set yourself a series of specific goals that will help you achieve that improvement. Anders Ericsson and Robert Poole. Peak: Secrets from the New Science of Expertise dives deep into the essence of what separates the elite performers from the rest of us. Written by Anders Ericsson, the pioneering researcher in the field of expertise, and co-authored by Robert Poole, this book is not just about excellence, but about understanding how anyone can achieve it. The big takeaway? Expertise isn't innate, it's developed painstakingly through a process called deliberate practice. The myth of talent. From a young age, we're often told that people are born with natural talents. You might hear someone say, "Oh, she's a math genius," or "he has an ear for music." But Ericsson challenges this notion head on. One of the central messages of Peak is that innate talent plays a far smaller role in expertise than we've been led to believe. Instead, it's consistent, structured practice that sets the experts apart. Consider the classic example Ericsson presents in the book, The Story of the Polgar Sisters. Laszlo Polgar, a Hungarian educational psychologist, was convinced that any child could be turned into a genius with the right kind of training. He and his wife homeschooled their 3 daughters in chess from a very young age. The result? All 3 became world-class chess players, with one, Judit Polgar, becoming the strongest female player in history. This wasn't because the Polgar sisters had some special chess gene, but because they underwent years of systematic, deliberate practice. The power of deliberate practice. What exactly is deliberate practice, the cornerstone of the book? It's a highly focused, goal-oriented method of improving performance. Unlike regular practice where someone might simply repeat a task over and over, think of a person playing tennis rallies for hours. Deliberate practice involves specific, measurable goals, feedback loops, and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Ericsson uses the example of violinists to illustrate this. In a famous study he conducted at the Berlin Institute of the Arts, he found that the top violinists didn't just practice more than their peers, they practiced in a way that constantly pushed their limits. While the average player might play through pieces they already knew well, elite violinists zeroed in on difficult sections, slowing down, breaking them apart, and honing their technique. It's not about the number of hours, but the quality of those hours. Ericsson's 10,000-hour rule, popularized by Malcolm Gladwell, is misunderstood if we think it means mindlessly putting in time. In fact, those 10,000 hours have to be deliberate, purposeful, and demanding practice that stretches your abilities to the edge. Before we move forward, if you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe to show your support. For those wanting to grab a copy of Peak, check the link in the description for more details. The role of feedback. A critical component of deliberate practice is feedback. Without it, you can't know what you're doing wrong and where you need to improve. Ericsson and Poole point out that the best performers in any field, from chess grandmasters to Olympic athletes, seek out constant, immediate feedback. An interesting anecdote from the book is the story of Benjamin Franklin. As a young man, Franklin wasn't a particularly good writer, but he wanted to improve, so he came up with a method that involved dissecting articles from The Spectator, a popular magazine of his time. Franklin would take notes on the structure and arguments, set them aside for a few days, and then try to reconstruct the article in his own words. This gave him direct feedback on where his writing fell short, and over time, his prose became polished and persuasive. By actively seeking feedback and analyzing where he could improve, Franklin transformed himself into one of the most eloquent writers of his time. Mental representations. A concept central to Peak is the idea of mental representations. When we practice deliberately, we're not just improving muscle memory, we're building and refining the mental images of how our actions fit together. For instance, a chess grandmaster can look at a board and immediately visualize potential moves and outcomes that a novice player wouldn't even consider. This isn't because they're born with some extra brain power, it's because they've built up those representations through years of specific, focused practice. A good example of mental representations is how professional soccer players seem to see the game differently. Ericsson refers to studies where players like Lionel Messi can anticipate the movement of the ball and their opponents several steps ahead. This heightened perception doesn't come from natural intuition. It's a process of countless hours of deliberate, targeted practice where they developed a near instinctual understanding of the game. Beyond expertise, the everyday benefits of deliberate practice. While Peak often focuses on extreme examples of expertise, like world-class musicians, athletes, or chess masters, the book is also about how anyone can apply these principles to improve in everyday life. Whether it's learning a new language, excelling at a hobby, or even enhancing work-related skills, deliberate practice is the key to pushing beyond plateaus. Ericsson shares the story of Steve Falloon, a student who initially struggled with memorizing long strings of numbers. Through deliberate practice, Steve was able to increase his digit span from an average 7 digits, the capacity of most people's short-term memory, to an astonishing 82 digits. He wasn't born with a photographic memory. He developed techniques to chunk information and strategically recall it. This example shows that the brain is highly adaptable. No matter our starting point, we have the capacity to change and grow through the right kinds of practice. Motivation, the fuel for deliberate practice. While deliberate practice is undeniably effective, it's also grueling and often frustrating. This is where motivation comes in. Ericsson and Poole emphasize that maintaining motivation over the long haul is crucial to mastering any skill. They argue that passion for a subject isn't always a prerequisite, but rather something that can grow over time as we see improvements in our abilities. A fascinating example of this in the book is the story of Daniel Kish, a man who lost his sight at a young age but learned to navigate the world using echolocation. By clicking his tongue and listening to the echoes, Kish trained his brain to see his environment. His incredible skill is the result of years of deliberate practice, but it also required immense motivation to push through the discomfort and frustration of learning such an unconventional method of perception. The limitations of deliberate practice. Of course, Peak doesn't suggest that anyone can become a world champion if they just practice hard enough. There are physical and biological limits. An adult might never achieve Olympic-level gymnastics, for example. But what the book drives home is that we're all capable of far more than we think. Most of us simply don't push ourselves hard enough or in the right ways. Ericsson and Poole give the example of runners. Recreational runners often hit a plateau, running the same routes at the same pace and never see significant improvements. But elite runners, through deliberate training that involves interval sprints, hill work, and strength exercises, continually improve. The lesson is clear. If you push beyond what's comfortable and target your weaknesses, improvement is inevitable. Conclusion. Peak is a deeply hopeful book. It demystifies expertise, showing us that with the right approach, hard work, and feedback, almost anyone can make incredible progress in their chosen field. While it doesn't promise easy results, it offers a roadmap for those willing to put in the effort. The science of expertise, as laid out by Ericsson and Poole, isn't just about reaching the top 1% of performers. It's about realizing the extraordinary potential that lies within all of us. If you guys would love to know more about how to increase growth and productivity, watch our summary on the 5 AM Club by Robin Sharma. See you shortly!